Ladies, gentlemen, and everything in between, hello, welcome to the channel. Peep the shirt. I know it's NASCAR, but I tried to be festive for you. Hello. Today we're checking out some more Formula One content because you guys seem to really be enjoying it, and I feel like it's perfect timing for me to bring the series to the channel, and all of a sudden, like, we're entering now into Formula One season. So I think we are on day 3 or day 4 now of testing the cars, and I, personally, my top 2 teams I'm rooting for, top 3, Red Bull, McLaren, and Ferrari. Now, Alfa Romeo apparently is doing really well, and there's another team it starts with a B, I can't really pronounce it, Bahrain, I hope I said that right, but apparently they're taking the thing by storm too. But today we're checking out 10 things to watch for in 2023, teams, manufacturing. Again, this is all kind of scientifical, it's not just racing. Like, there's a lot of thought and depth and money that goes into F1. Like, it's a big sport, and it actually helps the common man as well. All the information trickles down. So today we're going to be checking out, like I said, the things that we should be watching for. Subscribe if you're new here, like the video. Check out my Patreon as well so you can get more copyrighted like content over on the Patreon. So official Formula One videos. But let's get into the video. Here we go.
After what feels like an unusually long winter, Formula One pre-season testing is finally upon us.
Yes.
Only 3 days of running are permitted this season in Bahrain, so every team has already hit the track to rack up some vital shakedown mileage.
Let's go!
But from Thursday through to Saturday, things will start to get serious. And here are some of the key things we'll be looking for.
Okay.
Will the Mercedes work?
No, because I feel like that's just a universal joke then at this point. Because in my videos, I always mention how there's always a Mercedes or BMW, it never fails, broken down on the side of the road. And the fact that, like, the actual manufacturers and the top level F1 even jokes about Mercedes being unreliable, hilarious.
It'll be interesting to see if any teams have pushed their solutions far enough to trigger some bouncing problems, or if the floor rule changes over the winter have stamped it out entirely. But this is particularly relevant for Mercedes. The strengths and weaknesses of the W14 will go beyond a simple is it bobbing up and down on the straights. But given Mercedes appears to have stuck to its guns on car concept, most notably the side pods, if the new car appears to share some of its predecessors' more troublesome traits, there are going to be questions asked.
It's crazy how aerodynamic the cars are as well. Like, literally, AMG. And then someone told me that this part is actually to protect the driver as well. Like, the cars have been adapted. I love that.
The car appears to share some of its predecessors'
Pirelli?
more troublesome traits. There are going to be questions asked. There's already a feeling after the winter that Mercedes might not have quite made the gains it was hoping for and could start the season on the back foot.
Who's your top 3? Let me know.
Any outward signs that prove or disprove that notion. What's the RB19 like? After making a mockery of launch season by supposedly unveiling the RB19 2.5 weeks ago, it's time to meet the real thing, not a show car in 2023 clothing. We aren't the only ones who will be keen for a look at the RB19. The competition will also be pining to scope out how last year's benchmark team has evolved its title-winning car.
And again, I was surprised by Red Bull having like Red Bull being its own team. I thought they were just a sponsor, because usually, like, for sports and stuff, or just merchandise, they're just sponsoring the thing. But for them to have their own team and, like, competing against Aston Martin, McLaren, like all these car manufacturers, that's kind of a flex. Shout out to Red Bull.
Time last year, Red Bull introduced a late bodywork upgrade at the second test in Bahrain. Given it's just a single 3-day test this year, chances are the car that breaks cover will be extremely close to what will race next week.
I feel like testing puts a lot of wear and tear on the cars too, no?
Towards a Red Bull style design, it will be fascinating to see if the RB19 moves the goalposts. And we'll have a full technical analysis of the car here on our channel on day 1 of the test.
Okay, we gotta watch that then, because we're in testing already.
It's not just Red Bull that has been playing games in the off-season. Prior to the Bahrain test, F1 teams control what the outside world sees of their cars. Even when photos of the cars are released, they are carefully selected to shroud any details that teams want to keep hidden. And there will also be parts that are only added to the cars in Bahrain. While teams will do their best to keep things under wraps during test.
Why does this feel like the Hunger Games? Like, it feels like you gotta fake people. Oh, shout out to McLaren. I don't know if y'all shop at Abercrombie & Fitch, but they have a whole line of McLaren F1 merchandise. It's hella expensive, so I didn't buy any. But I really wanted one of their shirts because I want to rep. But yeah, it's crazy. It feels like it's not just a competition. Like, this is like a till death or something. Like, this feels very, very serious. The fact you have to like Photoshop and hide aspects of your car so someone doesn't copy it, and like there's money on the line here. So hey, I would be as inconspicuous as I could too with my car.
Testing, it's impossible to do that entirely. The cars are fully exposed when out on track or driving down the pit lane, and it's not only media outlets like us who have photographers poised to capture the secret details, but also every other team does the same. The 3 days in Bahrain will be the first time to see the real 2023 F1 cars,
and then you can steal ideas.
Will gradually become clearer to the world. That's what makes pre-season testing so fascinating. Is Ferrari's engine advantage back? It was in Bahrain last year that the effectiveness of Ferrari's unique small turbo long inlet power unit became apparent. The car's acceleration out of the slow turns was eye-opening, and something which would go on to be a bit of a theme in the early races. The
Dang, how do you even make these corners? That's a sharp turn. Like in NASCAR, it's literally just that like circle, like it's just laps. But like you have to know how to accelerate, decelerate, drift, not hit other cars. Like this is, driver mod is needed. Like you have, not only does the car have to be made well, but you have to have a good driver as well. So I wonder how much these people are getting paid, because I bet you they're getting paid big bucks to be driving on courses like this. Jesus.
Would be quicker at the end of the straight, but the Ferrari would accelerate harder onto them. The tighter the track, the better it was for the Ferrari engine. After a third of the season, Ferrari turned the engines down to prevent a repeat of the MGU-H-induced failures suffered in Barcelona and Baku, and because the fix was not a quick one, we never saw the early season acceleration advantage again. But Ferrari is hopeful that with the reliability fix in place, it can revert to running the engine hard once more this year.
So when you think of exotics, or at least me, like Lambos, Ferraris, Aston Martins, McLarens, reliability is never something that comes to my mind. But I guess they can be, just if you know what, like these cars aren't meant to just be driven on city roads and like around town to get groceries. They're meant to be doing, the engines anyway are meant to be doing stuff like this. Like that's what they were made for. Not just a flex.
And the Secure Circuit is one of the more power-rewarding tracks on the calendar, so even if the engine is turned down or Ferrari's performance is disguised, we should get some interesting indications.
Yeah. I wonder what their numbers are for laps.
Will Aston Martin make a big leap?
Doubt it.
This time of year, there are always rumours between the teams about what the wind tunnel numbers are saying. They are, of course, to be treated with a large pinch of salt. But one recurring rumour of the last few weeks is that the new Aston Martin AMR 23's numbers are very good. And we're not just talking good by midfield team standards, but really good. Maybe it's too good to be true, but occasionally those rumours are accurate.
It's like NASA, but for cars.
Brawn. If Aston Martin really has delivered a competitive car, Fernando Alonso might finally have moved to the right team at the right time.
Not the shade at Fernando, justice for Fernando. So is he like the number one, like, you know how the NBA has LeBron and Steph Curry? He's like that version, but for F1 and racing?
Right team at the right time. Bahrain could give us a first read on that. Is the Williams passing its big test?
The Williams
had the slowest car in F1, even though it was
never even heard of them. So you got Ferrari, you got Red Bull, you got Mercedes, McLaren. I think there's probably a European brand. Alfa Romeo, they're becoming more popular in America. I don't know these two. Never heard of them. Aston Martin, and then the W. That's sad. Slower by 100% when compared to Ferrari. Dang.
At least able to compete in the lower midfield, but it's hoping to make a decent step in 2023.
Enough of a jump though to get in the big four? The top four?
Balance. And combination corner entries, featuring turning and braking at the same time, exposed just how bad this was last year.
Oh man.
The problem was visible in pre-season testing. The Williams regularly arrived on the scene, locking up and running wide at the trickiest sequence, which is the double left, in which the track crests at turn 9, then dips into the ever-tightening turn 10. Alex Albon actually said at the team's launch event earlier this month that this very corner will indicate whether Williams has made the progress he thinks it has with this car. Will there?
But I feel like it's not just about the car itself. It's also the driver's responsibility to be able to make those turns, but... Okay.
There be enough running. If even Fernando Alonso, the most experienced F1 driver of all time, is complaining about the lack of pre-season running, how tough must it be for the rookies?
I want to know what his salary is. In fact, let's just look it up. I bet you, let's guess, it's probably like $4 million a year. Fernando Alonso. salary. 20. So he's Spanish and he used to race for Alpine. Last year his salary was $20 million. Oh my God. Okay, but that was 2022. 20 million. This article says for 2023 his salary has dropped to 5. That's still a lot of money, but that's a big drop. Why? Let's see. These people are pulling in money, man. Alfa Romeo, Valtteri Bottas, 33 from Finland, contract of 4 years, has a salary of $10 million. Guanyu Zhao, 20... Homie's younger than me, and he's raking in millions. I'm 24, he's 23 from China. He has a contract of 1 year, and he's getting $2 million. AlphaTauri, Nick de Vries from Netherlands, 27, $2 million. So what is this guy? He has a contract of 4 years, he's getting 10, but everyone else is getting like 1 or 2. Pierre Gasly, 26, France, contract 2 years, 5 mil. Esteban, 26 from France, 3 years, 6 mil. For Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, 25 from Monaco, 5-year contract, $24 million. That's what Ferrari's got coin. Carlos Sainz Jr., 28, and that's another thing. Their drivers are a little older. 28 from Spain, 2-year contract, $12 million. So they really must trust these guys. Here's McLaren, Lando Norris, 23 from the UK, 4-year contract, $20 million. And with the biggest salary, actually the top 2 salaries, Lewis Hamilton, 38 from the UK, 35 mil for Mercedes. They didn't even get a German driver. Disrespect. Both their drivers are from the UK. Red Bull Racing, Sergio Perez, 32 from Mexico. Shout out to Mexico. Our border share. Shout out to you. 2-year contract, $10 million. And with the most money, you got Max Verstappen, 25 from the Netherlands. At 25, he is pulling in $55 million. These are more than surgeons will probably ever see in their whole life. More than like medical researchers. I can't fathom it. If you agree, let me know what you think. Red Bull Racing, again, I guess the top 1 racing team in F1, they have a $55 million salary to give to a driver. Let me know what you think about that. To me, that's wild. That's crazy.
There are just 3 days of pre-season testing this year, which means a day and
$55 million.
For each race
How much
driver.
are they spending on their cars
For rookies,
then?
Oscar Piastri, Logan Sargent and Nick de Vries, that's not much time at all. Even for the experienced drivers who have moved, Alonso, Pierre Gasly and the returning Nico Hülkenberg, it's a big ask. The last time there were just 3 days of testing was in 2021 when teams were running carryover cars. The most distance back then that anyone managed was Gasly's 1,282 kilometres. The unfortunate ones managed far less than that, with Aston Martin newcomer Sebastian Vettel managing only 633 kilometres. Even with a clean day and a half, that's not much time given the fact the testing program is about far more than just the driver acclimatising.
Yeah.
So if any team has reliability problems, it could put a driver on the back foot early in the season.
So then testing is just, I guess, to see how your car is working, like last minute prep or last minute changes, and to get like acclimated with the course. Like, what's the point of testing day 1, 2, and 3 before like the big race? Or is this just to qualify?
2023 development worked. The balance of last year's new Pirelli tyres for the switch to 18-inch wheel rims were a little understeering. That was exacerbated by the struggle to achieve front-end aero load under the new regulations.
I asked y'all why we didn't use like big names like Michelin, but apparently I guess Pirelli's just a better tire
under the
company.
New regulations. This year's tyres have been modified to reduce that understeer by improving the footprint of the front tyres. Pirelli has been careful not to go too far with this. The fear is that changing the balance too profoundly could lead to an inherent oversteer balance from the tyres. The final specification, construction and compounds were used in the post-season test in Abu Dhabi and yielded a mixture of gently positive or nonplussed reactions.
Even the places that they choose for these races are like a big flex. But the thing I was saying, like, I like how it's not just a race. Like, these tires and the way that they're talking about it, it's to avoid oversteer, understeer. Isn't this going to now trickle down to other tire manufacturers and make them adapt how they make their tires too? That's for like the common man, me and you. Like, we get safer tires. We get to buy tires that are going to keep our cars and ourselves, our families safer. Like, I love that.
Construction and compounds were used in the post-season test in Abu Dhabi and yielded a mixture of gently positive or nonplussed reactions from the drivers. Now the new tyres are on the new cars, the Bahrain test should give a clear idea of their inherent behaviour and how well Pirelli has hit its mark.
So even the tyre company is on
signs of the pecking order.
On display.
We can just see the comments now. Every year it's the same thing, and we always stress there are plenty of caveats applied. No knowledge of fuel loads or engine modes, different tyre compounds, drivers pushing to different degrees. The list is extensive. However, by the end of testing, there is always at least a vague outline of the order, and at the very least, it's usually obvious who is in particularly bad shape.
Nothing showing McLaren.
Here is that as there are only 3 days, the picture might become clearer in some ways, but of course less clear in others. Teams can't afford to mess around with their run plans. They have to get down to business straight away, but they will be prioritising different things.
Testing's a big deal,
there is simply not enough time to get through everything. Some will do full race simulations, some might break them up. Some might empty the tank to get a real qualifying simulation at the end of day 2 or 3. Some might keep 20 or 30 kilograms in reserve. We will inevitably be working with best guesstimations, but at the very least, the first signs of the pecking order will emerge.
Okay, so testing is about like what order in qualifying you end up in.
Rush to tell us that it's a fool's game to even bother trying to crunch the numbers in testing. Don't worry, we know that too. But it's fun to do, and it's still interesting, even if it's inevitably not going to produce an exact prediction of the final championship table.
But it lets you know in perspective where your car is and like any tweaks you need to make, or something that the driver can do differently. Like, say they take a turn a certain way in test day 1 or test day 2, then they know, hey, let me do it a different way on the actual test day. Like, I think testing provides, like, it gives you good information and lets you adapt. I think it's important.
Is the field going to be closer? One of the stated aims of the technical regulations introduced last year was to close up the field.
Yeah.
The FIA's single-seater technical boss, Nicholas Tombazis, felt that last year, in terms of being the first year of the regulations, the gaps were very low. The expectation is that the gaps will close up in the coming years, and the Bahrain test will be our first tentative indication of whether that will happen in 2023. For reference, across last year, the gap from first to last was 2.6% on average, with the midfield 1.35% off the pace.
So I was thinking when they said gap, they meant like the public and the crowd from the racetrack, and I was like thinking the tires that are going to be flying smack a little kid in the head. No, they're talking about the gap between the races and how they place, not necessarily about safety.
At the Bahrain GP weekend, the gaps were similar, although the midfield was a little closer, just 1% down. During the Bahrain test specifically, the gap from the fastest, Red Bull, to the slowest, Williams, was 3.65%. There's also the first opportunity to assess the pace impact of the rules tweaks this year, primarily the raising of the floor edges by 15mm and raising of the diffuser throat. Those are the main things we'll be looking for during testing. We'll have plenty of videos covering the big stories from the test, starting with what the real Red Bull looks like. And to make sure you don't miss a thing, head to our website.
What is it? Okay, so they've hyped it up a lot. Now I want to see Red Bull Formula 1 2023 car. Does it have the little fins and spikes on the side? Let's see. Let's say... Isn't this a show car? Where's the official one? Like from test day. So that's 2023. This is 2022. What I can clearly notice is the front, like, face is a bit smaller. Everything just seems smaller and thinner, like more compacted. And I don't see the shark fins on the side that they were showing in the video. Well, as you guys know, testing has already begun. So let me know. I hope Ferrari or McLaren are like the big contenders right now. But again, I think it's Red Bull that's probably going to take it home because that's what like they always do. But let me know again your top 3 teams. Who do you think is going to take it home? And do these drivers deserve all that? A salary of $55 million for driving is, again, bonkers to me. But subscribe if you're new here, like the video. Look forward to more Formula 1 content, and I'll see you in the next one.